Good day to you. We welcome you to the realms of light, where the vast majority of who you are also exists. We welcome you to these realms of light, from where your physical lives, your physical personalities, and your entire physical worlds also spring. You might have noticed in your collective consciousness at different levels of organization that things are being shaken up and shaken apart in some degrees, because in your world now currently many old systems are beginning to come apart at the seams. And as this happens, it might feel very much chaotic, it might feel very volatile. Things are moving to and fro, up and down, left and right. And in these times of seeming chaos, it can be easy to forget that there is structure to existence, and that the structure of existence does support you. This is a period whereby many of the old associations, many of the old patterns are being interrupted. You are experiencing a pattern interrupt, but it is occurring on many levels. You may find it in your political spheres, between old alliances and old ways of seeing things being shaken apart, and you're not quite sure which way the energy will go. Now, within microsystems, within the macro, you might be experiencing this as well, interpersonally, within different groups and organizations of different sizes, different levels, all the way down to the individual level, whereby you might be experiencing a little bit of shakeup even within your own personality matrix, which too is composed of many parts. This pattern interrupt is a part of the unfolding and is part of the grace of humanity stepping up a vibration. Now, necessarily for new systems and new alliances and new forms to come into being, the old ones necessarily must dissolve. Therefore, part of this is, well, let us say it's a little bit of the ancient trickster energy coming into the foreground. The trickster energy which shakes things up, gets you to look at things in new ways, gets you out of complacency, and helps you to look upon the world in new ways. Now, you can go into this with much fret and trepidation and fear, or you can simply see this as part of a bigger process and trust that a new pattern and new patterns within the pattern will emerge. It is up to you how you choose to see this current situation that you are all moving through. Now, it has been given by other beings, this metaphor of moving on a raft down a river. There are parts of the river which are very, very tranquil, placid, peaceful. And you mosey along down the river, enjoying the great peace and the stability. There are portions of the river where there are a little bit more rocks in the current, and perhaps the grade drops down more considerably, and the current accelerates. And now you find yourself moving and floating upon a very swiftly moving river, getting carried downstream. And you are moving to and fro between the boulders, and the current now is moving you very rapidly. And there is much action, excitement, and at times you are holding on for dear life, to put it in your colloquial terms, to the raft, because it is carrying you at a very rapid clip and shaking you all about, to and fro, back and forth, up and down. You're getting splashed here and there. And that is part of the joy, it is part of the excitement. Now, when you move down the rapids thusly so quickly, you move down the rapids at this accelerated rate that could not be possible when you're moving in a very smoothly flowing river. So consider that you are, quote unquote, getting there faster. So that is one metaphor that might also help you to move through such times. Now, we will say that as you level up your vibration as a species, as individuals, and as collectives, and as the grand collective of humanity, you will come to recognize that patterns of extreme destruction and dissolution are not required for the expansion of consciousness. Now, you could say that there is a rough equation that the more rigidly you hold on to your established patterns of being and behavior, the more you hold on to the old structures, the more they must be shaken apart, like an earthquake or a tsunami being washed away. And these changes can become much more violent. Now, you can also move through these states of transition, transformation, with incredible grace, ease, and lightness of being. And this is what you are here to learn. You don't have to destroy the old structures. You can simply allow them to gradually and very easily shift to the next reality. But to do that, you must be in every moment letting go of the old, letting go of the old, and letting go of the old in each moment. If you cling to the way that things are, thinking they must perpetuate that way through your chosen timeline, then the more you are setting it up, as it were, for the universe, you're truthfully you at a higher level, at another level, at a higher level, that you would shake yourselves awake a little bit more forcefully. Now, this is where the archetype of the trickster comes in. For the trickster very much is about shaking things up, getting you to see things in new ways. Sometimes, quote unquote, tricking you into your own expansion by things suddenly disappearing or falling apart or blowing up, as it were, so that things can be remade anew. And this can be in your relationships, in your different dynamics, interpersonal relations, involving groups and larger organizations, involving bigger organizations of humanity, if you will, all the way to the entirety of the planet, which is also its own whole collective, existing of many parts. So you see, this is very fractal in nature, happening at many different levels. And as we say, as within, so without, you will notice those reflections, for you are each as an individual going through the reorganizations of your personality structures, and thusly projected into the external world, you will see the reorganization of your external realities. For what you put out is what you get back. And the external is but a reflection of the dynamic inner changes that each and every one of you is going through. So during these times of a little bit more turbulence, a little bit more volatility, we invite you to welcome the change and ask yourselves if there is any old structure that you're holding on to, or do you feel that your sense of stability depends on the reality staying the same? For many of you ask for great change, and yet many of you cling to the stability of the old world. So ask yourself, are you willing to let go? Are you willing to step into the new? Are you willing to step into the unknown? Are you willing to step into more of yourselves? And notice when you start to feel tight, or you start to want to hold on and rigidify and codify and solidify your physical reality to be as it is, unchanging. For that precludes you from experiencing the rapid change that you're asking for. So yes, this can happen in a very smooth and cohesive and coherent way. However, that trickster energy will get in and shake things up. Should there be a little bit too much clinging to those old structures, you cannot lean upon them. You must lean upon your inner self, your inner guidance, your inner strength. And you will find yourself moving through successions of rapid change and transformation, because your center will not be based upon anchoring your stability to external circumstances staying the same. You will have anchored your stability to the stability of your own being, to the stability of your existence, which is unchanging. That is the paradox. That you change with change, and yet you hold on to the one thing that does not change, which is your existence, from which all this seeming change and transformation springs. Embrace that paradox. And with that, then, we will conclude our message and ask if there are any questions that will, we sense, further extrapolate upon these themes that are playing out this night of your time.
Wonderful to see you, Tom, and really appreciate this channeling. One of the things I've been working on, trying to get a sense of, is time, and I'm interested in it from a Sethian point of view. Seth said the closest equivalent to time, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will, but Seth said the closest equivalent to time in our reality is value fulfillment. Now, the way I interpret that is, how strong are we in living our values in our life? And the stronger we are, then that equates to time in the sense of spiritual maturity. So if I can stand for my values in whatever situation I'm in, then I have come a long ways in what we might interpret as time or maturity, spiritual maturity. So any insights you could give me on this, or corrections in course, or I would be very grateful.
Indeed. And you can refer to this higher mind collective consciousness as Illi, which is the reflective mirror. And we will attempt to reflect to you your own higher mind as we answer your question. Now, value fulfillment is something quite a bit deeper than what is normally thought of when such a word is used in your language. For this is not a value that might refer to a specific political sense or social sense, or even, shall we say, searching for the word,
Moral?
Thank you. Something along those lines. It is something much deeper. It is a kind of core frequency of who you are. Your value is, we could use the metaphor of the one note that you came to play in the grand symphony of life. Now you have free will, thusly you can express this note in full capacity without inhibition, thereby completing the whole as the unique part that you are, playing within the grand symphony of your unique physical focus. Now, to the degree that you do inhibit this unique frequency that you came to play, in that sense you are devaluing yourself. You cannot truly devalue yourself. We are running into some language conundrums. But the idea is that you diminish the light, you diminish the frequency, and thereby you deprive the other beings from experiencing the radiance that you came to play. It would be as if one of the violin players in a symphony decided, well, They don't feel that good about their playing, and so they will just simply not play. Now the symphony goes on, but there is a little piece missing. Something is not completing the whole in the unique way that it is meant to complete. And so each of you are like these unique notes, these unique players in the grand symphony. And the more of you that play fully your truth, your radiance, your light, the more that completes the picture fully. Now, that being said, no symphony goes to waste. For even those symphonies that are, in a manner of speaking, incomplete, provide also much value because you experience the reality of incompleteness. And that is a valid state. It is a valid reality. If anything, to get you to appreciate the fullness of the light in all its radiance. As is often said in your world, the polarity of darkness and light, the polarity of the full symphony against the backdrop of incompleteness, gives you a grand sense of appreciation. It is easier to spot the candle in the darkness, was the expression we were looking for. So your value is just that. It is the frequency of your true natural self, fully expressed. And thusly do you provide value for others. And you withhold from others the brilliance and your radiance when you do not express your true natural self. And then there is something missing at that experiential reality level from full expression. So do not hold back your gifts. It is, shall we playfully say, a mean thing to do, to hold back your true radiance, your true gifts, for you deprive others of the opportunity to grow and to be inspired by the light that you came to share. There is a diminishment of the light. And as we say, that is a valid reality because you came here to experience different levels and permutations of limitation and darkness, and you are moving towards the light. You are creating the experience of unfolding into the radiance of your truth, individually and collectively en masse. So that would be our take or our definition of value. It is your true, natural, radiant self. And to the degree that you allow that to come through is the degree that you have virtue. That is the word we were looking for, virtue. Your virtue is not lists of right and wrong behaviors in this or that situation. Your virtue is literally the ability of you to express your true natural self to the fullness. And that's what provides value to others. And to you, you recognize your value when you act on your joy and passion to the best of your ability. And you radiate the light that you are. That reveals to you in your time-space reality the value that you are. For when you hold back your value, you don't get to experience the reflection of your value. This is why many a negative belief can be self-reinforcing. Because once you buy into the idea that you don't have value, you create a reality whereby you don't see your value reflected in the external world, and you can reinforce the idea that you don't have value. And yet that is a valuable experience because you learn and grow through experience. And again, you see the light due to the darkness. You see the freedom due to the limitations and the experiences of limitations. Does that help?
Yeah, I have a couple clarifying questions or comments. So this expression of the deepest part of who we are, is that like the alignment with love?
indeed you are love. And when you are
Right.
radiating your true natural self, you are, of course, radiating the frequency of love. You could say love is the experience of existence, if that helps.
My second question is, you spoke about sharing your light in the world. Was any of that like pointed at me? That like, should I be sharing? I try and share as much as I can, but do I need to look for other ways to uh, share with people? Or
Well,
was that just metaphorically speaking for all of us?
First of all, there are no shoulds. And our message is holographic in nature. Thusly, we speak to you individually, and we speak to all the members in the group, and we speak to everyone who's listening to this on a recording, and on and on.
Thank you. Yes, that's clear to me. Thank you very much. I really enjoy that, Illy. Very enlightening.
As we have enjoyed our interaction as well.
hello, Illy.
Good day.
I have a question about communication from the heart. How
From the
do we
heart.
effectively and kindly communicate from our heart to outward?
There are many permission slips to step into the heart frequency, to create a kind of heart-brain coherence, if you will. Now, one of the easiest ways is to simply act on your joy, act on your passion. There is no more direct way than that. Translate your passion, your joy, into physicalized action. And this grounds that energy through you, coming from the soul, through your physical frame, and infuses your physical life with that energy, which in turn begins to reflect it back to you, as well as revealing all the places that are not held in joy and love. Now, there are many permission slips besides this main one. You can spend time in nature. As an example, you can do any of the practices that are available in your world. Breathing exercises, meditations, and all their glorious permutations. And practicing the state of presence. Taking a few moments throughout your day to pause and observe that physical mind, which often is what you have been trained to lead with. So in a manner of speaking, what you are doing is breaking that cultural trance that many of you find yourselves ensconced in, for you have been trained to connect mind to mind. And you are now, as a culture, learning to connect heart to heart. This was previously reserved, but for a few special relationships in your life. And even those were often finding their way into the mind as well. But now you are beginning to, as a culture, open up to heart-to-heart communications and connections in ever-widening and expanding concentric circles. And at one point you will discover that heart-to-heart connection is the most optimal state. This is where the expression in your world comes that the mind is a beautiful servant, but a terrible master. And many of you find yourselves mastered by the mind and closing the heart. So one of the first steps of noticing that you are caught in the mind is to simply observe, to be neutral and to observe. And you will find many a story going through your mind all day long. and thusly notice those places where the mind pauses and allows the heart to come up for air, as it were. You can use many, many techniques for this. But again, the primary way is to use that formula that has been given by the Sasani civilization. For that is your direct link to the soul and the oversoul and the great all that is. And when you plug into that, you naturally radiate that heart frequency, which will reveal to you many of the distortions of the mind. And in so doing, you will recognize also many of your negative beliefs and negative frameworks. But that is part of the process of awakening and shifting to the heart frequency. It can be as simple as placing your hands over the heart and taking some deep breaths and allowing your presence to move into the heart. There is, physiologically speaking, neurological connections within the heart that are no lesser than the connections within the brain. So you can ponder that as well. You have a heart brain, as it were, as well as a gut brain. So those ancient teachings that spoke of different energy centers and different dantians within the body are quite correct. Thusly, these practices, many of them contain the unlocking mechanisms for you to shift into that heart frequency. Focus on that which you love and choose that vibrational focus more often throughout the day. Break the cultural trance of mind-to-mind connection. Does that help?
Yes. When we speak from our heart, how and will it be received by different people in different vibrational level?
We actually have a question for you. Do you have a gift that you are exploring the sharing of with the world?
I'm nervous now. Yes, so I'm practicing my channeling or connection with the source of energy that's higher than me, and I would like to be able to effectively communicate from my heart to their heart, no matter where they are in their vibrational level. Therefore, I have this question today.
Play with this, offer this, give this. Don't hide your light. Consider that is a very mean thing to do, to hold back. There are people waiting for the unique frequency that you came to share. So don't hold them up. And you will find that this is the most rapid pathway to connect to that heart energy. Share your love, share your gift, share who you are, share your value. And you will naturally, and the universe will naturally, because you and the universe are one, filter to you those people who are ready to hear your message. And of course, there will be different degrees to which your messages are received, but it will help you to understand that it is none of your business what they do with what you communicate. Your value, well, let us use the word value. That other word keeps escaping from us for some reason. Your value is the purest sharing of the message that you can share in that moment. Now, what they do with it is no longer has anything to do with you. That is on them. That is between them and the universe, between them and God, between them and their higher selves, however you want to say that. So let go of needing to have a visible impact in any one person's life. They will do with it what they will do with it. Your challenge, your task, your mission, however you want to frame that, your purpose is to radiate the light that you are. Now, there is a famous saying in the Taoist tradition, do your work, then step back, the only path to serenity. Now this is echoed in your modern times through many a channeler, for it is a timeless truth. Do your work, radiate your truth, then step back, let people do with it what they will do with it. Don't get entangled with needing them to understand it, to hear it. That is not your domain of concern. Simply radiate your message in the most impeccable way, and synchronicity will filter people through your life. And for sure, you will reach those people for whom your message is designed. For you have many, many agreements at many, many levels. But they will not be able to find you if you do not radiate fully your light. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
Thank you, Illi. It's a pleasure to be before you and to sense this energy again. What a treat. Thank you. I am curious about any beings who may be participating physically in our global open contact that we may not be aware of. Most of us are aware of the various hybrids, races, and children, and the Greys and the Sasquatch and, I guess the Pleiadians being involved. Are there any other beings who are going to have a prominent role in the personal and global interactions with extraterrestrial races?
This is something your entire world participates in. Your open contact is not extraterrestrials to humans only. It is a communication with your entire planet. Thusly do all the animals, the trees, the birds and the bees. All of nature participates. It is a vibrational tuning. Now, as humans, being the stewards of the planet and a kind of planetary collective consciousness, you are, of course, a great character within this unfolding of this particular play. But it is the entirety of the world that participates. Your redwood trees will participate. Your flowing streams will participate. Your whole world will participate. Indeed, will you as humanity learn many, many secrets of the planet and true planetary stewardship when such contact is made. For you are just about ready for that contact. And indeed, your world is very much ready for the raising of the vibration so that you can become true caretakers of your world. And there are as yet many secrets of your own planetary consciousness that for now remain hidden, that will percolate into humanity's awareness like a beautiful flower opening to the sunlight. And contact is but one part of that grand experience of awakening. So allow yourself to play with that image. Play with that image of the flower blooming in the humanity's consciousness. And that awakens you to all the different aspects of your planet, each petal in that flower representing a different portion of nature. For you are coming to understand your true nature as individuals and en masse as a society. And as you recognize enough of yourselves within each of these petals that are opening up, so too do you open the doorway for open contact, which happens indeed with your entire world simultaneously. Thusly, do appreciate your natural world, do appreciate the creatures, the flora and the fauna, as you say, and as well as the rock people, everything, all the domains of planetary existence. When you connect with them, and each petal opens to a sufficient degree, so too do you invite those extraterrestrial contacts for which you long. For you are on the precipice of experiencing a profound shift, a coming home, a heart opening, like reuniting with a long-lost lover, and you are seeing each other after a long, long, long break, and you are finally embracing one another. This is but a brief glimpse of the quality of the energy of coming home to existence, coming home to who you are. It is a much deeper, more profound experience than many of you suppose, because many of you consider open contact to be simply meeting extraterrestrial beings, but that is but the tip of the experience, which will be and is much more profound. Does that help?
Yes, it does. I mean, it's not exactly what I was looking for. I was more looking for a name or something like that of extra beings, but that was a great framework to put that in. Thank you.
We have a way of sometimes answering questions at a slightly different angle. But consider all these objects that you deem to be inanimate as indeed also participating. Even the rocks, the mountains, the land itself is participating.
Thank you. Milo?
Yes, thank you. I would be especially interested in hearing your relationship with Thomas in his early days, especially around when, and I asked this for obvious reasons because I'm at the start of my own connection with my guidance, with my channeling, but it would be especially helpful for me to hear from your standpoint how you assisted Thomas in helping him acclimate to this gift of connecting with you, to the concerns that he had, etc. Thank you.
Indeed, we are the higher mind, which then connects through many strands of consciousness to different aspect selves, as well as the oversoul, which is the composition of those aspect selves and so much more. Now, we guide by hints and intuitions. For example, the channel was guided very strongly to the Seth material very early on and found greater resonance with that material. The channel was also guided to explore his spirituality through whatever doorway was most accessible at the time. It began with shamanic studies and meditation, and it progressed to different types of healing work, and eventually through the art of medical qigong, which might be humorously said to be like Taoist yoga, if you will, and then other branches of Chinese medicine. Now, these guidances come as inspirations. You feel drawn to a certain direction. Many of you have the expression of going into a bookstore and a book literally falling off the shelf and into your lap. So many of you are guided each and every day through these subtle impulses that come to move in a specific direction, to have your curiosity piqued in a unique way, and you start moving in that direction. Now, you can streamline this process by following that great formula, which is the most streamlined version that is to the great benefit of humanity. Your joy, your passion, your creativity, your curiosity is precisely that thread that is always guiding you forward. And when you act on that, you are, as it were, following the breadcrumbs to more of yourself. You get more clues, But you must act to receive the next clue. You must step to see the next step and the next step. For if you do not act, you do not ground that energy, and then the next steps are not revealed to you. So it is important to act. And as the channel continued to act on those impulses, then the next steps would be revealed. And looking back, he now notices how everything was laid out right in front of him, even though he went through many, many periods of doubt and confusion and unsureness. Because by definition in your realm, as it is now, you only see one, maybe two steps ahead. So you must step into the next to see the next one and the next one. And your free will and your belief matrices give you the opportunity to follow your path or not. And that is the challenge of your realm. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Indeed.
Very happy to be again here in front of you. And I will say that the message from the onset tonight has been phenomenal. The structure of existence, the patterns of interruption, and how we create stability from being authentic with our own being. And some of the other answers that I heard here for the questions, it almost seems like there is a flow that addresses how to be more authentic, how to take things step by step, how not to expect to know everything in one chunk, and how to trust the process. So as I find myself in front of you, I ask of myself, how can I detach from those expectations that we have built for a long time with, what could I say? With more ease.
Very good. You can explore what truly motivates you subconsciously. When you find yourself holding on to any particular structure, then you can ask yourself the question, what am I afraid will happen if I let this go? Or you can ask yourself the other side of the coin, what do I believe I am gaining by continuing to hold on to this? That may reveal to you perhaps some beliefs about security, safety, or inclusion, fitting in with other beings, family perhaps. So you explore the different dimensions of what motivates you and what inspires you. For many of you are motivated by beliefs that hold you in a certain structure, and when you uncover them, it is like that moment in The Wizard of Oz when it is obvious that it is indeed the man behind the curtain. Thusly, when you pull the curtain on your negative beliefs and you look at them directly, you simply see through the illusion and you let them go. Sometimes it is as simple as fear of the unknown. This is why you have the expression in your world that people will often choose the devil they know versus the devil they don't know. Not our favorite terminology, but it has a humor to it that we can appreciate. Thusly, many people cling to those conditions and continue to suffer because they are more afraid of the unknown, because they've defined that as being more painful, perhaps. So explore all the dimensionality of that. And don't be afraid to explore negative beliefs. They will not become stronger because you're focusing on them, because you are doing so in consciousness. In fact, they remain strong when they remain behind the curtain. So pull the curtain. See what's there. What's pressing those buttons of motivation. And when you see through the illusion, one day you might have a hearty good laugh. When you see the absurdity of all of it, and then you let go. Does that help?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Heidi. This is my first time talking with you, so I wanted to ask you because a moment ago you were talking about the land and the rocks participating in all of this. And I recently learned about a place called Kef Kalesi in Turkey. And the person I learned from said that they felt a very high energy there. And I was wondering if possible, if you could speak about this place. I know there's remnants there of a structure, or maybe the land itself is meaningful. And so my question is there anything special about this place?
We are not connecting specifically to that location, although in general, that area of your world is very, very ancient. And much ancient knowledge may continue to be discovered therein. There is much ancient magic in that particular part of the world. Other than that, we don't have a whole lot of commentary.
And you used the word magic. What do you mean by that?
It is a kind of acute understanding of the laws of nature, whereby when you understand those laws, what you are able to accomplish with said laws will very much appear, especially to the uninitiated, indeed as magic.
I see.
So there is much energy there in terms of mystery schools and much knowledge that if it is your inspiration to visit said areas, you may tune into some of the magic of those mystery schools, which indeed shared the knowledge of these natural laws of time and space and gravity and so on.
And how would I tune into these mystery schools?
As we will always repeat, the most efficient way is to act on that which gives you joy, for that is your direct link to your soul's energy. And it will unfold. So if it is your curiosity to explore, to study, to travel, by all means act on that and you will be guided. You will find your breadcrumbs that will lead you to the right information and the people and the experiences. You may avail yourself of a story told by one of the group participants, by Jean-Francois, when he speaks of a magical journey through England and Scotland and Ireland and that whole area of the world, visiting sacred sites. For much was revealed to him on the journey that would not have been revealed otherwise. So he chose to act. And the channel, if you wish, can share with you where to find that unique story. But it is a quality of acting and moving in that direction and letting it unfold and trusting the process and trusting that the next step will be revealed at the right time in synchronicity. So you continue to act in that way and it will activate the knowledge that is truly within you. But you will go through a kind of journey through time and space and different realities, different experiences, because this is what you signed up for. You signed up for the quality, the journey, and the gradual unfolding. of the magic that already exists within you. That is the paradox. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Hello again, Illy.
Good day.
I have a question about being in the channeling stage. For me, I found that when there's the download coming through, some of them can be really exciting. Some of them feels like a preconceived knowledge. Why is that so?
Did you use the word preconceived knowledge?
Yes, it feels like I know where I put my apple in the fridge because I put it there before.
Yes, we understand. Let us put it this way, and this will dovetail with a question earlier about how the channel was himself guided. This is how channeling works. There is a kind of Venn diagram, if you will, an overlap, a space of consciousness where the physicalized personality meets with the energy of the channeled entity. So if you have a Venn diagram in a vertical format, that space of interaction is very magical. Now, this necessitates the language of the channel as well as the information the channel has gathered throughout one's life. Thusly, our channelers often guided to gather much information that will be relevant to the information that must be translated through the channel. Thusly, if you are guided to read perhaps other channeled material or perhaps study the English language in a unique way, perhaps learning some scientific terms or quantum mechanics or whatnot, oftentimes this is, if you are a channeler, so that the entity that wants to come through you has the informational structure within the personality matrix that it can then highlight. It is almost as if you have gathered all kinds of knowledge within you, and the channeled entity weaves a strand of consciousness through different knowledge bases within the personality matrix to create a message. Now, we could use the tarot deck as a kind of analogy. The tarot deck is a physical structure, and higher energy beings, and indeed your own higher mind, can speak to you through the tarot deck. Likewise, when you as a physical personality structure gather information, data, language structures, that entity, instead of using the tarot deck, will use that knowledge by highlighting it in a unique pattern, which creates the communication. Thusly, it is necessary for you to gather your internal tarot cards, as it were, symbols, metaphors, archetypal information, and the entity might tap onto that knowledge that is already existing within you. Therefore, it will feel very, very familiar. But that is how channeling works. It is very, very subtle. Sometimes the entity is simply using that knowledge to express a certain point at the precise moment that is required. Does that make sense?
Yes, it cleared all my questions here. And I found that I don't have to close my eyes or concentrate when I want to channel. It feels like idea just flows through. It's just my own way of doing it?
You don't have to close your eyes. You can play with what feels best for you. Now, many artists and musicians channel their music or their creativity or their art, often with eyes open. So there is no preconceived requirement for what it must look like. Oftentimes, eyes can be closed in order to facilitate a kind of inward sight and connection, but it is not required. And many of you, as humanity raises your consciousness, there is no longer such a grand difference between the physical mind's vibrational state and the higher mind's vibrational state. Therefore, more and more channeled messages will come through each and every one of you in your fully awakened, eyes opened state. You are, in a manner of speaking, becoming lucid waking. Of course, you are familiar with lucid dreaming, but each and every one of you is moving into a state of lucid waking. For many of you are awake, and yet you are asleep. So you see, you are now awakening, becoming lucidly awake, and thusly can you, of course, channel all kinds of information from many places with your eyes open. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you so much. I
Indeed.
appreciate everything you share.
And we appreciate you and all of you.
That's the end of our question queue, Illi. Thank you very much for reflecting upon us, since you are a mirror in yourself. And we appreciate that image and your energy tonight. Do you have a parting message for us?
First of all, thank you and each and every one of you for gathering and creating the space through which these messages can be received, and also the group within which many individuals can find and express their value. This is very, very important and necessary now for the collectivity of humanity to come out of the closet, as it were, to form these kinds of groups, to share and to practice in sharing your light. Thusly do we greatly appreciate this Toastmasters of channeling. May it continue, and with great appreciation for each and every one of you that is here present or listening to this at another quote-unquote time, we send whatever blessings are ours to give to inspire you on your journey of awakening and recognizing more of who you are, sharing your unique frequency with the world, and realizing the value that you are. You are valuable because you exist. You realize that value in your reality by sharing the value that you are. Thusly does it come back to you reflected in such a way that you reveal your value to yourself and of course to others. So let this be a time of great revelations and radiance, and may you all radiate as the wonderful beings that you are. And with that, we will wish each and every one of you, and all of you together collectively, a gloriously beautiful and a fond good day. Whew, and that was that.
Another
Beautiful,
fabulous
Tom.
question and answer session, and great messages, Tom. Awesome.
I kind of felt like it was kind of just revving up in vibration as we went along.
It built up, yeah. I mean, and a lot of it emanated from the original message, really. It just kept and went into the questions of how to become more authentic and how we trust and how we take steps. And man, it built up beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
It has a way of doing that. And that's just something. Go on.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, to me, it was like the people were asking the questions which were most emotionally significant to them. Like they were getting deeper and they were really pulling stuff out. They're like, well, I want to ask this, but no, this nagging thing is on me, so I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to bring this up.
Good observation, yeah.
It's like
And the other thing I will say is that your channeling flow, it just gets better and better and better.
Well, this group is such an amazing opportunity to show up and just do the thing. You know what I mean?
Yay.
We're glad.
What I wanted to say earlier was you just can't orchestrate the synchronicities that just happen when you just surrender to that flow.
Yep. We live in a magical world of magic we create.
And there was one visual I got, which was something about the contact question. It was like I really saw this amazing, beautiful lotus-like flower just opening, and there's all this golden yellow light. It was just like, I wish I could like send it to you guys. You know what I mean?
You can paint it and send it to us.
Well, I was like thinking like, could I not virtual, artificial intelligence this one? You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
like it was like, dude, I wish I could just like translate that. And it's like the words just don't do it justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep, somebody needs to invent that AI machine that can transcribe our thoughts and paint them too.
Totally.
That would be the day, huh?
Yay,
That's coming
Heidi.
soon.
Heidi's out of hiding.
Hey, how you doing?
Slightly,
Thanks, Tom. So thanks for sending me your material as well. I personally like reached out to Tom, I think after Jean-Francois's the full moon meditation, and then there's this strong impulse for me to reach out to Tom regarding the channeling like pathway that I want to pursue. So Tom sent me a link of his YouTube video, how to channel, and then that kind of, I think after I watched that, I feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yay.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I know what I'm doing.
I'm excited. I
Thank
mean, you're
you.
on the schedule now, so that's sweet.
I'm just glad like somebody actually watches that video and gets something out of it. You know what I mean?
It'll come in handy when we get to the channeling school part.
Yeah. And that's something I would explore too, is just creating maybe like an updated version of it or something. Because I feel like there's so many people who are going to be reaching for exactly this kind of stuff.
I agree completely.
What you explained to me today, like with my questions, that can be added onto that video that you created.
Yeah, there was that moment I was seeing like, I was almost like seeing this grid within the physical mind structure of all the knowledge that was gathered. And then the entity would just kind of go bing, 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 bing. And that strings a message, but it's using the knowledge that has been already gathered by the personality. So it was a nice visual.
Nice.
That was really good. Yeah.
And I liked the tarot cards came in. Like I have a good memory of that one. It's like, yeah, such a great metaphor.
Yep.
I love it because that's where I started tarot.
Oh, I think a lot of people do. I mean, I love I think it's such a great repository of metaphorical language and symbolic language.
Well, and it has all of the energy of everybody else who buys into that deck and supplies their interpretations too, right? So they're all energetically charged. You're just pulling out what you need for you or for the other person, whatever.
Yeah, I love mythology and archetypes and, what's his name? Joseph Campbell, right? And his works and the hero's journey and all these archetypal, it's just, so fascinating.
I agree. And we're all drawn to different stuff. And then, we get in this group and everybody has special skills that apply. And if people need them, then people just say, oh, I can help you out with that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is just freaking magic.
And it's been such an explosion, like from like just a standard tarot to like all of a sudden there's all these oracle decks that like started coming into being like 15 years ago, and it's just exploded. Like, so there's all these people like channeling all these different types of symbolic languages now, which is it's amazing. Some of the artwork even like, as people express archetypal energies in different formats than just the old ancient ones.
Wow, I didn't even think about that about, I guess they're going to have AI updates. You're going to have an AI designed tarot where it can pick out all the images for you, or are they pretty much standardized? I don't know.
I think there's a lot to come. There's going to be a lot of AI and people themselves, creating out of their own higher understandings of themselves and their interactions with other beings, human beings. So there's a lot more coming. I've seen decks that are now capable of even doing mediumship through the deck, because the creator of the deck actually was a medium, and so she took it from that perspective, and the images and the messages that are written in the cards connect to many of the basic questions that people have when they're seeking a medium, basically. So it's a great portal to develop people in many different directions.
And it's just
Psychological decks, there's all kinds of decks,
Yeah, and it's such a common place. So many people begin their psychic journey is through different card decks and oracle, anything. Like it could be the I Ching, it could be anything, right?
It could be anything. But it's a very personal thing, and you can start learning on your own. And there's this excitement about, wow, I just threw a couple of cards, and I was, this is the question, and wow, I got this. This is I can see it clearly. What the message is.
Recording
and you get
stopped.
more and more and more into it as a result of that interaction.
Sometimes when
I remember having books that I would do readings for myself, okay, and then going and reading the books, and it was just like wow.
Sometimes when I'm channeling or receiving intuitive information for someone, I'll literally get an image of one of the cards and be like, oh, well, that's like, and it's not only tarot, like, but the one that comes to me often is like the Tower, right? When everything's falling apart. It's actually pretty appropriate.
Not a bad card.
Yeah, it's right, or death, right?
It could be. It's a moment of redefining something. It's like the interrupt and the destruction needs to happen.
The old, crumbling away.
It needs to be marked, whatever. So it could be a very good card. In fact, there's a couple of decks